Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. So, if you're anything like me, you've got a few bad habits. Now, bad habit isn't just something, like really bad, like stealing or so forth and so on. A bad habit can just be anything that disconnects us from God, anything that reduces harmony and order in our life. It can be the bad habit of eating a little bit past the point where we're full. Maybe we're not like very overweight, but maybe we eat a little bit past where our body says, I'm done. Or maybe it's wasting a little bit of time here and there, or maybe it's being consistently late. So, all of these are bad habits, and they're things that disconnect us from God and are just one more, you know, the things I just mentioned, none of them are like horrible, and um, and our goal is order and harmony in our lives. And whether we're dealing with a small habit, like some of the ones I just named, or a really big habit that's really destructive, um, the principle of change is the same. Now, if you go out into the world and ask for advice, you'll get all sorts of advice. A lot of this advice has to do with behavioral modification. For someone who is, let's say, very overweight, the advice is to change your way of eating, and there's all sorts of strategies to do that. And anyone who's tried to lose weight by just changing their behavior can tell you that it doesn't work. Diets, meaning just changing, coming up with a new plan of eating, has a ridiculously low, very, very low success rate. And the question is why? Why can't we just change our behaviors? On a certain level, it would just seem to make sense. Like, okay, whether it's overeating or whether it's being late, like, okay, I'm just going to decide. I'm just going to decide to um, be on time, or I'm just going to decide to eat more healthy. And most of the time, it doesn't work, or it works for a short period of time, or even worse. No, not so much worse, but that behavior changes, and then a new bad habit creeps in to take its place. So, Bruno Groening's teaching makes it really clear why behavioral modification isn't really the way to create lasting change, and how to create lasting change. And not only that, in this process of learning to let go of our negative habits, to change them, we can learn a lot about human beings, about what it is to be a human being, literally about how human beings operate. So, here's what Bruno Groening says on the topic. Man acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves man to deed. Okay, so the question is, why do we do what we do? Not just negative habits, but positive habits. Why do, moment by moment, all throughout the day, we make tens of thousands of choices? The question is, why? Well, according to Bruno Groening, it all comes down to our thoughts. Our thoughts move us to make certain decisions. This became very clear to me. I went on a retreat, and the retreat was focused. It was 9 days of focusing on awareness of your thoughts. And something very similar to this, the effect of our thoughts. So, at the end of the retreat, it was time to check out for the hotel I was staying in. And as I was walking towards the front desk, there were two receptionists there. And so I had a choice, which receptionist? It was kind of funny. It was like I was literally walking in a straight line, and there were, they were kind of like equidistant from me. So, if I'd been like walking like this, I would have just gone to this one, but I was literally right in the middle. And so there was a choice that needed to be made. And then I heard I observe this very small thought, like, oh, the one on the right has been really kind to me over the last couple days, but it was very faint, and without even thinking, I just went towards the receptionist on the right. This was a very eye opener for me because if I hadn't been so mindful, I would have just gone to that person without having been aware of what was behind the choice. And what was behind the choice was a thought. I happened to be aware of that thought. But so, according to Bruno Groening, everything we do, every action is preceded by a thought. In this example, it really brought it home to me because it was this really teeny tiny subtle thought that I normally wouldn't have caught if I hadn't been doing a 9-day. I did this very long meditation retreat. So it's very eye-opening to me that wow, our decisions really do come from our thoughts, and oftentimes it's unconscious. That's what was so interesting is um, the sequence of events was more like this. I was walking, and then I just kind of decided to go to that person, and then I became aware of the thought that had led to the decision. Like it happened very quickly. So here's another quote from Bruno Groening about thoughts. It is through oneself that man is either built up or destroyed. In the armory of his thoughts, he is forging the weapons which add to his own downfall. In the same way, he is creating the tools to build heavenly homes of joy, power, and peace for himself, because planning with God's power means thinking well. Okie dokie. So there it is. It's in our thoughts that we're either literally forging our destruction or, as Bruno Groening said, building heavenly homes of joy, power, and peace for oneself. So that's why behavioral modification doesn't work, because a behavior is a result. It's a result of a thought. Now, that's not to say that, like, don't do any behavioral modification or that it's completely useless. It's really a great short-term fix. Um, and of course, but what I'm saying here, and what Bruno has really pointed out, that if we really want to change ourselves, we need to work with our thoughts, because that's, as he said, that's where we forge the armory of our destruction. In the armory of our thoughts, we forge our own downfall, or create heavenly homes of peace and joy. So, so how to work with our thoughts? Well, Bruno Groening keeps it very, very simple. God bless you, Bruno Groening, for keeping it simple. Here's what he says: be wary of every evil thought, refuse it. And if you like, say to yourself, I want nothing to do with this bad thought. I want to have a good thought now. Then distract yourself. Look out of the window, for example. Look into the direction where the good, the real divine, is showing itself. He meant look at nature. So his instructions are very simple: to refuse the thought, ask for a good thought, and or to distract ourselves, to look at nature, to reestablish the divine connection. Very simple. And yet we have to be willing to practice it all throughout the day, because to watch our thoughts and to discern. And it's a practice. We might just sit down and do it for 5 minutes at first. And eventually the goal is to do it all day long or as much as possible. Now, we might just be thinking, okay, cool. Well, I'm just going to work with my thoughts. So this is the instructions that Bruno offers, and there's other systems of working with our thoughts. Um, but is that the final solution? It might be easy to say yes, but according to Bruno Groening, no, that's not the final solution. I'm going to read the quote that I started off with. Man acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves man to deed. Okay, so It's almost like a sequence of cause and effect. So we have behavior, which is caused by thought, which is caused by will, meaning we have to engage our will for the good. When describing Einstein, that's one of the exact things that Bruno Groening said. He said, have the will. The German word is Willen, which means will, intention to receive positive energy for your body. So that's how to do Einstein, but it's also how to live, to have this ongoing, and of course, it starts as a practice and then it becomes a way of life, an ongoing will, an intention to receive the good, to be connected to God. So, and so it starts with the will, and then we watch our thoughts. So there's one other quote I'd like to read that talks a little bit more about this idea of will. Okay, this is from the book Powers of the Spirit, page 219. Someone said, "Hey mate," smiley face. Hey mate. This is from the book Powers of the Spirit, page 219. The soul can be compared to a wonderful, beautiful flower about the size of my open palm. When a person wants what is good, their soul then opens, just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy streams into it fully. But if a person takes up just a single bad thought, then their soul shuts itself up at once and the connection to God is interrupted. The soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. A good will opens the mirror of the soul and the power can flow. But it will not let in even the tiniest bad feeling because it will shut itself up as quick as lightning. So the soul is where the divine spark is located in human beings, to which no evil can gain access. It is for this reason that I'm always saying, in this world there are no bad people from a spiritual point of view, but only people with bad habits. That's my all-time favorite Bruno Groening quote. Anyone who knows me has heard me say often, "Oh, this is one of my favorites. Oh, this is one of my favorites. This is my all-time favorite." Okay, top 3. Maybe top 5. But one of my all-time favorite quotes of Bruno Groening's. So, let's break it down a little bit. So, the soul can be compared to a wonderful, beautiful flower about the size of my open palm. When a person wants what is good, the soul then opens just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy can stream into it fully. So, when a person wants what is good, the soul then opens just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy streams into it fully. So here's Bruno telling us how to tune in, how to do Einstein, and how to live. Want what is good, which is another way of saying have the will to good or the will to receive. I'll continue. But if a person takes up just a single bad thought, then the soul shuts itself up at once and the connection to God is interrupted. So, here it is. We start with the will for good, the will for God. That opens up our soul. He said, just like a satellite dish. However, the soul won't let in he said, a single negative thought shuts the soul up. That doesn't mean we become aware of a single negative thought. It means when we take it in, when we say yes to it. When we do, then that shuts the soul, that closes the satellite dish, and we stop receiving the divine connection. The soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. A good will opens the mirror of the soul, and the power can flow. Again, a Goodwill opens the mirror of the soul, and the power can flow. That's, we don't just observe our bodies when we tune in, we observe our bodies with the will, the intention, the desire to receive what's good. Because observing the body, people have been doing that for thousands of years. It's an ancient Buddhist practice, and I'm not saying that's bad. But what we're doing, what people who are following this teaching is doing, is it's slightly different. We observe the body with the will to take the energy in. Again, a good will opens the mirror of the soul, and the power can flow. But it will not let in even the tiniest bad feeling, because it will shut itself up as quick as lightning. So the soul is where the divine spark is located in human beings, to which no evil can gain access. So there's something inside of us. Bruno calls it the soul. I would love to know the German word for it. I'll learn it soon. To which no evil can gain access. That means inside of me, inside of you, and inside of everyone, there is something pure and divine to which no evil can gain access. That includes everyone, even the worst, most evil person. Now let's keep in mind, Bruno Groening was showing up in post-World War II Germany when the whole world thought that the German people were evil for the atrocities that happened of the Holocaust. And here comes Bruno Groening saying, no, actually, inside of everyone, even the worst person, is something pure to which no evil can gain access. It is for this reason I'm always saying, in this world there are no bad people from a spiritual point of view, but only people with bad habits. So, and here we have the three things that we started with: will, thought, and behavior. Okay, the will opens up the soul, and then we can receive the divine energy. However, if we take in a single negative thought, that shuts down the divine connection. That shuts down the reception of the healing stream. Once that reception is, because the soul is inherently pure and it won't take in any negativity. Once that's shut down, then people can behave in evil or bad ways. But Bruno Groening was adamant. The human being, let's see if I can find it. This is another one of my favorite Bruno Groening quotes. We're getting all my favorites out there today. One moment, friends. There it is. The divine is embedded in him. The human being is and remains divine. He is never demonic. He is never satanic. Man is never evil. And rather, only when he leaves God, when he neglects himself, only then can he be afflicted with evil. The evil seizes him, and then he has to serve the evil. So, once someone's taken in some evil, it's not them that's doing the evil, it's the evil acting through them. But as he said, the human being is and remains divine. To experience this, what do we need to do? We need to engage our will for the good. And then we need to watch our thoughts like our destiny depends on it, because it does. Let's see. Oh. Someone wrote, lots of power felt here in Australia from your live stream. Thanking you so much for doing this good work. You're very welcome. And the reason why I do this work is I love giving and contributing and supporting, and I am in the process of convincing myself. I love that it's helpful for other people. And the truth is that I, while I've had many healings, and on one sense, I intellectually know that what Groening teaches is true, is I'm just in a process of convincing myself even further. And I also do it because it's a joy, and because in sharing it, it strengthens it in me. I can't tell you how much stronger my faith has become and how much deeper my understanding of Bruno Groening's teachings have become in finding my own words to explain it. So you're very welcome. Thank you for that feedback. And the, if you want to learn Bruno Groening's teachings, start teaching it, start sharing it with others, or start making YouTube videos. um, so to close up, so if you want to change yourself, many if you go out and look for advice, many people will just tell you to change your behavior. And according to the teachings of Bruno Groening, that's going to fail if you just do that, because behavior's an effect. The cause of behavior is our thoughts, and what causes our thoughts is our will. It's through having the will for the good that we tend to draw in more positive thoughts, though we still have to be mindful of our thoughts. And it's from there, from having more and more positive thoughts and from having a connection with the divine, that we're able to make better choices, and that we just spontaneously, naturally make better choices. Because ultimately, I believe our goal is to be in a state of flow where we're connected to the divine, and then we just, we're living it. We spontaneously do the right thing because it's God acting through us, which is what Bruno Groening said, to become an instrument of God, a servant of God, which he said we already are. We've just forgotten. We just don't fully believe. Thanks so much for joining in, everyone. I wish you much, much Halstrom, much divine energy, good power. And I wish you deeper and deeper desire, will, burning desire for God, for the good. Thanks so much. And thanks for your comments, Gordon.